The Dynasty Podcast is a free-flowing conversation that occasionally touches on mature subjects. You were warned. The Dynasty Podcast is brought to you by Jumbo Donuts. Get a delicious blueberry muffin, bacon and cheese sandwich, or the Jumbo Donuts world-famous chocolate-covered donut. Don't be a fool. Start the day off right at your local Jumbo Donuts.
It's time to play the music. It's time to light the lights. It's time to meet the assholes on the Dynasty tonight. That's right. It's time to put on makeup. It's time to dress up right. It's time to raise the curtain on the Dynasty tonight. Why do we always come here? I guess we'll never know. It's like some kind of torture to have to watch the show. And now let's get things started. Why don't you get things started? It's time to get things started on the most sensational, inspirational, celebrational, sexuational. This is what we call the Dynasty Podcast.
And now, coming to you live from Riverdale Studios, your host, the one, the only, Eric Costanza!
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to episode number 9 of the Jumbo Donuts Dynasty Podcast. As always, this is your commissioner and host, Eric Costanza, broadcasting live and naked from the dungeons of Riverdale Studios. We have a lot in store in this podcast, so let's get this frickin' thing started. The Dynasty midseason hangout was unfortunately canceled due to lack of attendance. A lot of coaches had random shit come up, and some coaches just couldn't fit it into their busy schedule. According to the league poll that I put up recently, it appears that the league does in fact want a mid-season hangout going forward, so I hope that next year we'll have a little bit more cooperation. Now, the last podcast I announced that we're coming up to the trade deadline, and I had my dates a little off. The trade deadline will actually occur at the stroke of midnight, the night of Wednesday, November 23rd, which is about 2 weeks away. So just keep that in mind. Edition number 3 of the Riverdale Gazette is scheduled to be mailed out next week. Those of you that follow the Riverdale Gazette Twitter page already know who will be on the front cover along with other features that will be highlighted in the piece. The Gazette was originally slated to be 6 pages, but I just got a last-minute submission by Coach Johnny C., which is going to bump this shit up to 8 pages. It's actually more of an editorial, or maybe even more of a rant from Johnny C. Anywho, I'm very, very proud of this Gazette, and I hope you all enjoy it. I'll also be sending out the updated version of the Dynasty spreadsheet next week as well. And lastly, this week starts the Thursday night games on the wonderful DirecTV. Obviously, in addition to making sure your lineup is set for the Thursday nighter, you also want to do whatever it is that you personally need to do to remind yourself to submit your pick'em votes prior to the game on Thursday. The last few years, this has been an obstacle for some coaches, and is probably the biggest reason why I'm a reigning back-to-back-to-back pick'em champion. So do whatever it is that you need to do to make sure that you remind yourself to submit your pick'em votes prior to the game beginning on Thursday night. The pick'em submissions lock once that first kickoff occurs.
Now let's take a look into last week's results. Who kicked some ass? Who sucked?
Oh God, oh my God.
Week 9 was a crazy week. 3 teams from the North won and 3 teams from the South won. 3 games got decided by 2 points or less. One of those games was decided by the tiebreaker, which was bench points, and one team avoided a dynasty record. But in the Jumbo Donuts Game of the Week, we saw the Amber Alerts take on Brutal Deluxe. Coach McDowell got off to a substantial lead with Arian Foster's 20 points, but Coach John came roaring back. Tom Brady, though he had an off game in real life, ended with 19 points, and Vincent Jackson put up 141 yards and 3 touchdowns, which is good for 32 points, which was good for the third best player this week. But Coach McDowell made a great coaching move by starting Atlanta's defense, and the combination of Big Ben and Ray Rice on Sunday Night Football gave Brutal just enough to win the big game, 117 to 115. But the game we're all talking about, the Toilet Bowl, which was against the Iron Dogs and the Rockdalian Senators. This was an epic showdown between possibly the two worst teams the Dynasty has ever seen. The Dynasty odds makers issued the Senators as a 3-point favorite heading into the clash, and the over-under was 131 points. Well, the Senators ended up winning by 24, with the combined score being 164, so the over definitely got that one. This was Will's first time winning in this league since week 12 of last year. Coach DeYoung's red-headed gunslinging rookie quarterback Andy Dalton put up 26 points, and Reggie Bush had a nice day, while no one other than Phillip Rivers and Antonio Gates did anything for the guards. Congratulations, Will. 11 losses in a row. You know, it's really a tough thing to come by. Tied a dynasty record, and it was a great run, so congratulations. The next game was Soul Glow versus the Riverdale Scoopers. This game surprisingly came down to the Monday night game. I needed Michael Vick and Jeremy Macklin to both combine to get me 15 points for the victory. And I have to admit, I watched every single friggin' second of that dreadful game on Monday night. I was curled up on my couch, sucking my thumb, and I on the final play of the game, literally the final play of the game, Jeremy Macklin, my new wide receiver, got an 8-yard reception, which boosted up the point total up to making it a tie game, 90-90. And due to me having more bench points on my bench over Coach Tav, I ended up getting the victory. The next game was the Hong Kong Cavaliers versus Handy Quacks. Both of these teams were reeling coming into the showdown and needed a win badly. The Cavs got solid games from Eli Manning, Whitey Westwelker, and Mike Tolbert, scoring a total of 100 points. But it was definitely Coach Palucci's weekend in more ways than one. Julio Jones, who has been injured the last few weeks, returned and had 131 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns, good for 28 points, good for 4th out of all players. And Handy Quacks got the victory, the squeaker of the win, 102 to 100. The next game was the Yellow Peril versus Bubblegum Shrimp. The story of this matchup was a play that occurred in the Steelers-Ravens game on Sunday night. Big Ben rolled to his right and fired a ball intended for Bubba's Antonio Brown in the end zone. But, like a bat out of hell, Peril's receiver Mike Wallace sprinted from the other side of the field and literally stole the touchdown. This play was the difference in Peril's 114 to 102 victory. The next game was Negro Damas versus Heritage Park Hunters. Aaron Rodgers really is amazing. Just another day at the office for the sumbitch. 4 touchdowns, 38 points, leads the league again in all players. Negroes get the very much needed win and scored the most points this week, with the final being 118 to 86. Now, as we take a look at the standings, things maybe seem to kind of be shaking themselves out a little bit, although maybe not. North Riverdale Division, 8-1. Riverdale Scoopers at the top, now has a 2-game lead in the division. Amber Alerts and Yellow Peril are at 6-3. Alerts does have about 74 more points than Peril does, but they're both right there now at 6-3. Right below them, Handy Quacks and Heritage Park Hunters, both at 5-4. They're actually playing each other this week. We'll talk more about that later, but that's a big game. Then the Iron Dogs at 1-8. Then in the South Riverdale Division, Brutal Deluxe has taken the division lead at 6-3. Bubba Gump drops down to 5-4, and I